in SAS, then we will be using this example to generate some of the graphs or visualizations that we can use for exploration. So here is a list of variables that are present in the example data, and we can do several kinds of plots. So we can basic plots or bar charts, line graphs and scatter plots, distribution plots or box plots and histograms. And again, we will see examples of those in SAS, and I've given some screenshots of these charts that we will generate these in SAS. So this is scatter plot where you have two numerical variables, one on the x-axis and one on the y-axis. Then when you have two numerical variables, and you can do a scatter plot and see whether the pattern seems reasonable. Now distribution plots are box plot and histogram. So histogram is for a numerical variable again, as opposed to bar chart being for a categorical or class variable. So here we have a numerical variable on the x-axis divided into bins, and we have frequencies for the height of the bars, and we can change the bin size and see whether this distribution seems reasonable. So box plot is very good in understanding whether there is skew or not. So box plot is made with 5 values, okay, min on one side and max on the other side. And then there is a box in between. On the lower end of the box is the first quartile. First quartile is the 25th percentile. So when you order the data from smallest to the largest, okay, from the smallest, if you go down 25% down the way, the value that you see, that's your first quartile. And then median is the midpoint. And third quartile is the 75% of the way down the list. Then that value is third quartile. So you draw a box, and the width of the box is immaterial. And then you draw a line through median. Okay, and then you put a plus mark where the mean is. Okay, if it is a perfectly symmetrical distribution, you will see mean and median coinciding, and the distance between median and quartile 1 and quartile 3 being the same. And again, these are called whiskers, and the whiskers also being the same size. Then the distribution is even and symmetric. But if the whiskers are longer on one side, then you know that it is skewed on that side. And again, if the box is divided not equally, and if the mean is shifted from the median, okay, so then you know that there is a skew in the data. So if there is a heavy skew, if skew is marginal, then it's okay. But if the skew is severe, then you may have to do some transformations like log transformation or exponential transformation, or even some standardization like z-score standardization or range standardization. So here are some examples of box plot. Again, we will generate these box plots in SAS. Now, heat map is a methodology that we can use to create, when you have correlation, the correlation can be represented as a heat map, or missing values can also be represented with heat maps. So here we will generate this in Excel. So we generate a correlation matrix and then do conditional formatting to highlight correlations that are large, absolute value of the correlation. So either highly correlated on the positive side or on the negative side. So higher the correlation between independent variables, there will be presence of what is called multicollinearity. So we'll talk about multicollinearity later on. So this kind of visualization is useful in understanding which independent variables, which predictor variables are highly correlated either on the positive side or on the negative side. We'll develop this in Excel. So missing values, so you have this again, you can do this in Excel, where each column you convert the column into 0 or 1. Okay, so recode each value. If the value is missing, you code that as a 1. And if the value is not missing, then you code that as a 0. Okay. And then you highlight that entire table. Wherever there is a 1, have background color a dark color, and then no color if it is 0. So that means the darker shades means there is missing value. So if there are lots of dark, say like for example here, this variable shows lots of missing values. Now here this is good. Okay, so there are several areas where, so this one also has lots of missing values. So a heat map, which we first convert the actual values to zeros and ones, 1 being missing and 0 being not missing. Zeros are good, 1 is bad. And then you create a background color of dark color for the missing values. And this will make it easy for us to visually see where the missing values are.